Hello, my name is Sam Feltham and welcome to Expert Interviews here on Smash the Fat. With me today is personal trainer and author of The Slow Burn Fitness Revolution, all the way from New York, Frederick Hahn. How you doing, Fred?
All right, Sam. Doing good. Good. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, it's fantastic to have you here. Fantastic to have you. The reason that I wanted to get you on the show is that you have this fantastic book, The Slow Burn Fitness Revolution. But I suppose that kind of stemmed from all of your years of training in the trenches with clients at your studio in New York. But before all of that, how did you kind of get into health and fitness and become a fitness expert?
Well, thanks for saying that. It really, to make a long story short, I was in around the year 1990 or so. I was hired at the Hospital for Joint Diseases Sports Medicine Center. The Hospital for Joint Diseases in New York City is a big orthopedic hospital, more than an orthopedic hospital, but and they opened up a new sports medicine center in 1990. So I was hired as which was kind of a new thing at the time. I was hired as the right-hand man, you could say, of the physical therapists. So what I would do was the physical therapy, let's say, for example, you'd go skiing, you'd hurt your knee, doctor would fix your knee, and then you'd go to the physical therapist, and they would do all the modalities that they would normally do, and then they would send the patient to me. And so I was in charge of creating all of the strengthening programs. So if the physical therapist said, okay, strengthen their knee, strengthen their arm, strengthen their back, I was in charge of creating the strengthening programs for the patients under the guidance of the physical therapists and, of course, the doctor. So I felt that it was my responsibility, but I felt it was my responsibility to find, one, the very best way to do that. Since physical therapy then and even now is limited, you're only going to get maybe 10, 20 sessions, and that's it, and then you're off. You better be better, or that's about it. Your insurance, you're out. So I thought that how can I maximize the patient's time? How can I get them as strong as possible in the shortest period of time? So I did a lot of research, did a lot of reading, and read all different kinds of books on resistance training, strength training, from Dr. Ellington Darden's books to Vladimir Satsior's, I never pronounced his name right, Satsiorski's books. You name it, I read it. And then I came across an article called MCMM, which stands for Muscular Contractions with Measured Movement, which was in a Strength and Health magazine in the 60s. Dr. Ellington Darden had talked about a strength training program called Super Slow. And Super Slow training was a type of training that could strongly stimulate muscles to go stronger without harmful impact forces like you see in CrossFit or in Olympic lifting. Like if you do Olympic lifting, you get stronger, you certainly get more muscular, but you also wind up getting injured. So seeing as how these people are already injured, it wouldn't be a wise idea to strengthen them in ways that might injure them worse. So I found that through modifications of my own, that very slow, controlled repetitions with resistances that caused muscle fatigue within the anaerobic range worked extraordinarily well at making people very strong very fast. So from there, I did that for a year or more. One day, the orthopedic surgeon came in, pointed to me through the glass window and said, "Come over here." Took me into his office and said, "What are you doing with my patients?" And I said, "Making them stronger like I'm supposed to." And he said, I've never seen people get this strong this fast. What are you doing?" And so I explained it to him, and then I started training him. And then he and I opened up our own physical therapy clinic at New York Methodist Hospital in Brooklyn, New York. And I ran that clinic for 3 years. And then so what happened there was that it was very difficult to get physical therapists to understand that strength training, lifting weights, and lifting them intensely was the single most productive thing you could do for the patient. That ultrasound and electrostimulation and heat and ice, massage, all those passive modalities have their place, but they should not replace intense weightlifting done in a safe manner. So after several years of just pulling my hair out, whatever hair I had left, I just decided, you know, I need to do this on my own. I need to not have all of this fighting and tension. So I opened up Serious Strength Personal Training here, where I am sitting now, in 1998, and so I've been running it here for 16 years ever since.
Wow. Yeah, it's quite an epic journey, sort of going from place to place in New York. And has, over those 16 years, has your system kind of changed at all?
Sure.
Or do you think it's pretty much stayed the same and the foundations are still there?
Well, I would say that the basic foundations are the same, meaning that we, all of the instructors here, what's the right word, obey known principles of exercise physiology. So there are, for example, problems with some slow tempo training programs, specifically the technical super slow protocol, where you're using very light weights and contracting the muscles slowly over a very long period of time. So in the beginning, I was doing that for the most part, but I started to realize that it wasn't as effective as making the weight, you know, and you have to understand when I say this, it depends on the individual greatly on how we do this, but in general, making the weights significantly heavier, not lighter, so that the slow speed of motion is because you can't lift the weights fast if you tried.
That makes sense.
Control, right, to complete fatigue or close to it, proved to be a superior way of making people stronger, faster, and safely as well. So I would say that is the major change would be in that we now, given the individual, we make the resistances heavier than we did when I first opened up the gym. Still, though, without any injury at all.
Yeah, and that's kind of.
Yeah.
I was just about to say, it's kind of your big thing. Is that it's got to be safe and effective.
Right.
Is the big point of slow burn fitness.
Right. Safety first. It has to be safety first. You know, there's no reason to. What we're trying to do is cause a positive tissue remodeling of muscles and bones. That's what exercise, not pastime activities, like soccer and football and baseball and ping pong, all that's for fun and enjoyment. You know, you can't play soccer safely. You know, you can't do it. You can't box safely. You can't play football safely. You can't do CrossFit safely. You know, so, but that's not what we're talking about. What we want to do is how can we cause a positive tissue adaptation? How can we make you better, stronger, healthier, without ever putting you at risk? And that's the question. That has to have a scientific answer to it, and I feel that it does. Then you take your stronger, healthier body that you've made safely, if you choose to, out in the world, and do whatever you want to do. Better. And we'll see. You know? So, and I think this is where a lot of people, a lot of strength coaches and trainers, they don't think about that as, in my opinion, as thoroughly as they should.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of fluff out there for sure, and a lot of coaches don't tend to kind of think that way in terms of making sure that people's technique is proper, so that then they get more out of the exercise. I mean, take a press up as a classic example, in terms of how many head bobbing, kind of praying type press ups do you see at every single outdoor boot camp that's out there. We actually perform hand release press ups where the hands start off by the chest and shoulders like so, and they have to have their chest starting from the ground, pushing up like so, so they go to the top and then bring it back down, and then their chest has to touch the floor and they have to bring their hands off of the floor and then go back again. So you're getting that full range of motion and having it in just a proper technique.
Yeah.
So are there any other kind of classic examples that you see day to day, kind of in the studio or out and about, where somebody's going to be doing the technique wrong, and there are just some simple things that they can do to improve their technique?
Oh, well, there's yes. I mean, there's thousands of examples. Yeah, I mean, that's a whole book there. But you know, I guess the thing that you have to really think about is, when you're exercising, why are you doing it? What's the purpose of the exercise? If you don't have a clear answer in your mind, you should start thinking about it. So, for example, if you're doing a push-up, why are you doing the push-up? What's it for? Do you know what it's for? Most people, when they think, oh, I got to exercise, I gotta, you know, if I'm feeling, I gotta do, okay, why? Why are you thinking I need to exercise? What's the purpose? And then logically, it's sort of like with low carbohydrate diets, or if you're a type 2 diabetic. Why am I a type 2 diabetic? What is the, and you have to root through until you get to the cause and the reason. So with resistance training, if you're doing a push-up, yeah, the goal is to strengthen the muscles of the arms and the chest. That's what you're trying to do. You can't have an opinion on it.
Yeah.
That's what
it's like maths. It's like maths sort of training and stuff like that, isn't it? There's one answer, and that's it.
That's it. So you can't say, well, I disagree with you, Fred. I think doing push-ups is great for the legs. Well, compared to what? Compared to doing a leg exercise? Well, then you would be wrong. So if you want to strengthen the legs, you wouldn't be doing a push-up, would you? So now, if the goal is to strengthen the arms and the chest, specifically the triceps, the pectoralis major, and the anterior deltoid, okay, now, how do we then do that? Okay, do we do it as fast as we can? If so, okay, why? Why would we do that? Do we do it as slow as possible? So these questions have to be asked. So it's always better and safer to move more slowly than it is to move quickly. So anybody who tells you to perform an exercise explosively is saying to you, perform this exercise as dangerously as possible. That's what they're saying. And again, you don't get to vote. That isn't the safest way to do it. Right? Like, and I would say to it, explain to me how it's safer to do it explosively.
Absolutely. And it's quite telling, actually, because I don't know if you know this, I used to be a snowboard instructor, and one of the things that we used to do was to make turns super slowly so that we knew all of the kind of the actions that we were making, all of the biomechanics involved with the turn, so that then we sort of have it in our head and we're kind of building up that mental map. So then that can obviously relate to our muscle memory, so that then, you know, when you go into it, you've done it safely, and then when you build it up, you're able to do it quickly, and that's when I suppose you can be more explosive, is when you have done it in that safe environment, you've built up the strength and stamina to be able to perform the exercise in a dynamic way. But for a lot of people that are out there, they haven't built up that strength and stamina yet to be able to do any of these exercises explosively, dynamically, or whatever kind of adjective you want to use.
Right. Well, what you're saying is true, but I would add that In snowboarding, snowboarding is an activity, a skill that has to be performed quickly. You have to. So you're saying, which is Recton's saying, so you learn the skills carefully and slowly so that you learn what you're doing, and then when you get out there, you have a better chance of doing that quick motion more safely.
Yeah.
So the same would be true for Olympic lifting, or maybe powerlifting, or sports that just happen to involve weights that have to be done quickly. But with strength training to develop the strength and the size of the muscles, to increase the total number of muscle fibers, increase bone density, to cause that, stimulate and cause a positive tissue adaptation, it never, ever, ever has to be done explosively or quickly. Yeah. The idea that the fast twitch muscle fibers that you need to train fast to address and stimulate the fast twitch muscle fibers is wrong. That is not true at all. Henneman's size principle clearly states that as long as the effort is high, all of the available fibers will be engaged and be stimulated to grow stronger. So that's a huge myth in the personal training, athletic training, coaching arena, that in order to stimulate those powerful, fast-twitch, hypertrophiable fibers, you have to use explosive, fast movements. Completely untrue.
Awesome, yeah, and that kind of leads on to my next question, which would be, why exactly do we want to be doing these exercises slowly? I mean, you kind of gave us a clue there in terms of developing more muscle fibers and kind of a greater muscle mass, and I suppose quite possibly in a concept a higher muscle density. And why would that help someone?
Oh, why would improving muscle mass help someone?
Yeah.
Is that the question? Oh, well, I mean, there's many reasons why. One reason why is because if you're not actively increasing or attempting to increase muscle tissue, or at least maintain it, obviously there's a limit to how much muscle you can gain. We're assuming here that no one, and no one should, be taking drugs, steroids, to enhance muscle size. So assuming that we're not doing something like that, which I do not advocate, if you're not actively trying to maintain or increase your muscle tissue, you are actively losing it. There's no such thing in life as stasis. So one answer is, because if you don't do something to stimulate muscle, you'll lose strength. And that's why so many men and women, once they get to be my age, can barely lift the bag of kitty litter. They have trouble getting in and out of a taxi cab. They're finding that activities of daily living, even riding their bike or playing their tennis game, is becoming harder and more arduous when it doesn't have to be. And that's because over the years they've lost muscle tissue. And it doesn't matter how active you are. I'll have clients say, "Oh, Fred, I heard about your book and your weightlifting stuff. I don't need your weight stuff. I play tennis 4 times a week." Just because you're active doesn't mean that you're halting, let alone reversing muscle loss. So physical activity in and of itself, movement in and of itself, will not necessarily halt and reverse muscle loss. So that's the most important thing, is so that you can continue to do the things you enjoy in life that are physical, and be able to do activities of daily living like lifting your grandkids and riding your bike with them and doing all those things until the day you die. The second thing is that muscle is metabolically very active. And so if I take my magic wand of muscle and tap Sam on the shoulder and add 10 pounds of muscle to Sam's body, Sam is going to be a more metabolically active machine. Not a lot more, but more. And it's better to be a more metabolically active machine for many reasons, in terms of maintaining a lean body composition, regulation of blood sugar, for those times that you're going to go face down in the chocolate pie, because we all do, so it's a very important from a hormonal standpoint, it's a very, very important thing to do. And there are many other things that you get from increased muscle strength, like increased bone mineral density. It's almost a one-to-one relationship. Increased gastrointestinal transit time, better blood numbers, better blood pressure. In fact, there's some Swedish papers that have, or Swedish or Swiss, I forget, that have shown that resistance training literally de-ages you at the genetic level.
Wow.
Because you're essentially telling your body, I want to be young.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you make muscle stronger and you proliferate the muscle fibers, many other metabolic processes have to come up to snuff along with that.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? So it's not like you are de-aging yourself as you make yourself stronger. And then, of course, there's looking better naked, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's always good. That's always good. That's always what we want.
That's the least important one.
Yeah, for sure. Being healthy is great, but yeah, looking better naked helps too. And going along that theme, where do you think fat loss comes into this? Because obviously a lot of people sort of exercise to lose as much body fat as possible. Where do you think this is?
Well, from my experience, and I think it's inarguable that research supports this, exercise to lose body fat is virtually useless. Virtually useless. A lot of people think that and here's one of the reasons why. If you get on a treadmill and you run your rear end off, and at the end of an hour it says you've burned 600 calories, right? Okay, let's say that little doohickey thing is correct. It generally isn't, but let's just say it is. Okay, you've burned 600 calories, right? Of what?
Exactly.
So we would like to believe that you shed 600 calories of fat from your rear end, or fat from your belly, right? That's what we're hoping, and I think that's what most people really think. They go, oh look, 600 calories. I burned 600 calories. Now there's 600 calories of fat less on my rear end. No, there's not. You're burning some fat, but most of the energy that it takes to perform that activity is coming from the glycogen stored in your muscles, the sugar that's in your muscles. Now you're going to jump off the treadmill, go to the counter at the gym, and you're going to order your banana coconut smoothie, right? Because you've earned it, and you're going to put the sugar right back in. So you're like a hamster on a treadmill. So you're going nowhere. In order to lose appreciable amounts of body fat, you have to tell your body at a hormonal level, I want to use fat as my main source of fuel all of the time. So I'll tell clients, what's the most aerobic fat-burning thing you can do? They'll go, oh, run on the treadmill, Nordic track, VersaClimber, or something like that. I'll say, no, the most aerobic thing you can possibly do is sleep. Then you'll be burning fat about 100% of the time.
That is awesome.
or you can adopt a very low carbohydrate diet, a well-formulated, very low carbohydrate diet, which then will allow your body to use fat as its primary fuel source. That is the only way any human being, any animal, is going to be able to use appreciable amounts of body fat to lose appreciable amounts of body fat. So that, in combination with resistance training, you're losing fat, building muscle, and rather than turning yourself from a big pear into a little pear, you're transforming your physique, which is what we want. So I'll tell clients, instead of jumping on that treadmill for an hour, take a nap. Recover. Rest.
Absolutely. And that's one thing that's kind of lost in health and fitness a lot, is kind of the recovery time, because when it comes to building muscle, that's mostly done when you're sleeping.
Yeah, when you're not exercising, and that's why too much exercise, especially too much muscle stimulating building exercise, is a mistake. And the reason why you see the big guys in the gym get away with it is because, one, genetics. Some people can just build muscle faster and easier than other people. It's no different than the hair on your head. Some men are bald, like me. Some men have full heads of hair. That's just genetic. It's got nothing to do with anything other than your genetics. And it's the same with building muscle. It's the same with, like, having a wide face or a thin face, having broad shoulders or narrow shoulders. But people don't realize that because they see the big muscular guys and gals in the gym doing everything opposite of what I'm saying, like observational evidence. We know that observational evidence is not proof of cause and effect, right? Mm-hmm. So, but this is what happens to people. They go, oh, look at this guy. He's in the gym 5 days a week. Look at how good he looks, right? Yet there are people who look just as good as him that don't ever go to the gym at all.
Absolutely.
We all know people like that.
And what? Sorry, Fred, go on.
No, I was just saying we all know people like that. So you know, it's important to, and we try to teach our clients here that it's important, if not critical, when it comes to making improvements in your health, which will result in improved muscle mass and reduction of body fat. It's important to use science as a candle in the dark, to quote Carl Sagan, late Carl Sagan, rather than observational evidence, which can easily lead you astray, and always leads people astray.
Undoubtedly. And another thing that you kind of say is that kids should be strength training as well.
Yeah. Yes. It's the myth that, I mean, everybody's heard the myth, right? That strength training stunts growth, and it stunts bone development and all of that. When I did research for a year on the book, I read every paper, every book that I could get my hands on that dealt with resistance training in kids. And there was no evidence whatsoever. In fact, the opposite was true, that it actually enhanced the development of bone and muscle, not to mention self-confidence. In obese children, there was no better exercise modality than resistance training, not along, of course, with eating properly, for fat loss, just like in adults, but also because with obese children tend to be stronger than their lean counterparts. So it gives them a lot of self-confidence. And then as they get leaner, then they feel stronger to go out in the world and be more active. So for kids, it's a win-win in every way, shape or form. In fact, you know, kids used to lift weights, you know, years and years and years ago in the old gymnasiums. They had dumbbells on the wall, and resistance training, climbing ropes and things of this nature was a staple sort of calisthenics, right? Was a staple in children's PE programs, where today it's not. It's kind of lost its way. You know, there's kickball and volley, and that's all. You know, all that stuff, all the fun. It's fine, but it isn't the same as 10 to 15 or 20 minutes of hard muscular effort. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. There needs to kind of be that healthy balance of stuff that kind of makes them stronger, but then stuff that's obviously fun and trying to kind of develop coordination and social skills and things like that. But they also need that kind of that systematic strength training that is going to be effective in terms of, you know, increasing their muscle mass and their overall strength and stamina and things like that. But hey, and where's kind of the best place for children to start and for adults to start in terms of a slow burn fitness program?
Well, you know, I haven't built that empire yet, Sam. So, but I did want to say that, and parents who have children that are athletes, they would really benefit from a strength training program, because not only will it make them better athletes, they'll run faster, they'll hit the ball harder, all of that, but it will also reduce their chance of injury when they're playing their sport. Now, where do you do it? Well, unfortunately, most gyms do not allow children under the age of 16 to touch the weights. So there are very, very few places where you can go, where, like, we have our Strong Kids, Healthy Kids program here, and we allow kids to train here as young as 7, 8 years old. as long as mentally and emotionally they can concentrate and take instruction seriously. My daughter started when she was 6.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So as long as they can, concentrate, you say to the youngster, okay, we need you to do this or that. If they can follow instruction, there really is no cutoff age. Generally most kids can't really focus on what needs to be done until they're about 6 or 7, 8 years old. Otherwise, it's just all like a game, which is, it's not safe to do that with weights, of course. But so here at Serious Strength, in my gym in Manhattan, we do have our Strong Kids, Healthy Kids program. It's a 15-minute resistance training program, very affordable, in, out in 15 minutes. They get a full body workout in that 15 minutes. But I really don't, I have to honestly say, I really don't know where else. I'm sure there are, but I really don't know where else people, trainers or gyms are doing this with kids that are 16 years of age, that are younger than 16 years of age.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe you should put together a DVD set or something that people can kind of do at home.
Yeah. I mean, I have in my book, there's a home program for the kids and a weight training program for the kids. Like if there was a YMCA or some gym that allowed the child to train under the supervision of a trainer, then my book explains how you can do that on machines or at home using body weight exercises. And a lot of that also, the myth behind that is, oh, well, children should only use body weight exercises. They shouldn't use free weights and machines. Well, but that's ridiculous because their body weight actually might be heavier and more, would impart more resistance in certain exercises than if they were in a machine. So that's kind of silly. It doesn't make any logical sense. So if you can find a gym that allows that, you can use the book. And yeah, should I make a DVD? Yes, I have to.
Working on it, Fred, for sure. Yeah. That's perfect. And then what about the adults? Where can guys kind of start with that?
Well, the same. In my Slow Burn Fitness Revolution book, there's both a home program, which is really the home program is really for people that are completely out of shape. Yeah. Like haven't exercised maybe in their life, haven't done any kind of formal resistance training in their life. The home program is for them to start with. It's a very good foundation, but soon you'll get very strong, and then you'd want to switch to, which is also in my book, switch to a gym machine-based program. And I say machines because free weights are fine, but free weights are more dangerous to use. There's nothing about a free weight exercise that's inherently better than the same exercise on a machine. Anybody who tells you that free weights are better than machines, they don't know what they're talking about. They just don't know what they're talking about. Your muscle doesn't know that you're lifting a brick, a round steel plate, a square steel plate, a bag of sand. All muscles know is, are they contracting strong enough to stimulate an adaptation or not? Your biceps don't care that it's a Nautilus machine, a Medix machine, a free weight. I mean, can you imagine? Yeah. Oh, wait a minute, this is a machine. I am not going to get stronger. Yeah, how silly is this? But you got a lot of coaches and trainers out there who are like dead serious. Are you never going to get anywhere training on that machine? So beware of the trainers that say goofy stuff like that. I think the book does a very good job of teaching the layperson how to go on the machines that I have in the book and learn how to use it correctly. And then there are many gyms around the country that do things similar to what I do. Anybody who's listening in now, if you are interested, you can feel free to email me or Facebook me and ask me, and my staff and I will help you find a place in your area. There's a lot of gyms, friends of mine who own gyms that are very high-quality gyms, and I'd be more than happy to give you that information.
Absolutely, that's perfect, Fred. That's perfect. And people can get the book via Amazon, smashthefat.com/slowburn. That'll take them straight to the Slow Burn Fitness Revolution. And if they go to smashthefat.com/strong kids, that'll take them to Strong Kids, Healthy Kids, the book on Amazon as well. And is there anywhere else that people can read your information or get in contact with you?
Yeah, well, I have a Facebook page, a Serious Strength Personal Training Facebook page. Also, my blog, which is slowburnfitness.com. I answer everybody's questions as much as I can. So those two venues are perfect. And if you do have any questions, you can always email me at info@seriousstrength.com.
Awesome, and that's the website for your personal training studio. If we have anybody from New York or anyone that's passing through New York that wants to visit your studio, it's seriousstrength.com.
Correct. Yes.
Awesome. Cool. Well, there's only one more thing to do, Fred, and that's to hear a smash it out from Frederick Hahn. And so on 3, I want you to shout "smash it out" to the camera. So right. 1, 2, 3.
Smash it out!
Awesome. That was great, Fred. That was brilliant, mate. Superb. Well, thanks again for your time today, Fred. And yeah, well, hopefully if you're ever over here in London, we can go out for a steak and smash some slow burn fitness.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sam. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Fred. Thanks a lot, dude. I'll speak to you soon.
All right. Cheers.